I'm curious about like some of the contradictions or discrepancies you found in the Bible in relation to these ideas of heaven and hell. Because I'm thinking about um, that part where Jesus is on the cross and he tells the thief, today you'll be with me in paradise. And then you have Jesus saying in one of the gospel accounts that he gives his spirit
Yeah.
up to God. And then you have other stories of Jesus descending into the
Uh-huh.
underworld, similar to these Odysseus stories of the hero going to the underworld and
Yeah.
coming back. And so we're left with this weird discrepancy of where does he go? And I'm kind of curious about, as you kind of
Yeah.
explored the Bible and looking for discrepancies, I'm curious about the ones specifically around heaven and hell that
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
found really interesting.
Yeah, well, I had to deal with that in my popular book on heaven and hell because, as I said in the Old Testament, there's no life after death at all. Even this place called Sheol, people tend to think of that as kind of like a Greek Hades, that you like all the
Mm.
souls go down there and live for a while. And I argue in my book, it probably doesn't mean that. It probably Sheol is always the synonym for Sheol in the Old Testament. The synonyms are death and grave and tomb, and it looks like Sheol is just a way of talking about the tomb you end up in. When you get to the New Testament, when you get to Jesus, it's not that. It's that there's going to be an afterlife. Your spirit's going to come back into your body, and you're going to live forever. In later writings of the New Testament, including the Gospel of Luke, the one you're referring to, Luke is living later. Luke is not a Jew. Luke seems to think that there's a separation of the body and the soul lives on. And so he reports Jesus saying to the thief on the cross, "Today you will be with me in paradise." And that pretty clearly says that they're going to die and their souls are going to go up there, which is so that's what Jesus says in Luke. But Luke is writing, 50 years after Jesus himself, and he's incorporating a view that Jesus didn't have, which happens a lot in the Gospels. And so you get that. In the New Testament, you get hints of this idea that at Jesus' death, he went down to Hades, to the place of the dead. You get hints of that in a couple of places, especially in the book of 1 Peter, chapters 3 and 4. Eventually, that led to this whole question of this whole doctrine some of your listeners may have heard of, called the harrowing of hell. The
Mm.
harrowing of hell was this medieval tradition that tried to explain what happened between Jesus' death and his resurrection. Like, he dies, he comes back to life on Sunday, he dies on Friday, comes back. What's he doing in the meantime? Like, did he not exist, or did he? What happened? And the idea was, well, if his death brought about salvation, he probably went down to preach to those who had died already about his salvation, because it wouldn't be fair if they died before salvation was available, and surely he made it available to them too. And so the idea is that he went down then and preached to them, so those who would believe in him could be saved. And that developed into this entire tradition,
Mm.
and there's stories that started circulating. And so in this book that I've just written that came out, the Journeys to Heaven and Hell book, I have an entire chapter devoted to this whole idea and how it developed over time from these hints in the New Testament to full-fledged narratives in a later gospel nobody's heard of, called the Gospel of Nicodemus, where Jesus actually, it describes him going down to hell and getting everyone out of there. Really,
Mm.
really interesting. And in part, it's interesting because parts of that tradition suggest that Jesus was so powerful that death could not prevent him from doing what he wanted to do. Hell could not prevent him from doing what he wanted to do. The devil, nobody could prevent him. So he took everybody out, even the sinners. And so, why not? So it's universal salvation in some of these texts. It's great.
Hey, thank you so much for watching this video clip from the Delgado Podcast. To get more videos just like this, simply subscribe here on YouTube. Take care.